Sean with the Men's Access into Professional Care course, and I've got into Glasgow Caledonian University and starting in October.
Okay, and I'm Richard. I was on the Access Men Professional Care course as well, and I'm also going at Glasgow Caledonian to do mental health nursing. So it was, when we found out that we weren't going to be coming back onto the campus, it probably wasn't a huge shock given everything that was going on. But I guess one of the things that was a little strange to deal with was the initial sort of uncertainty around what was going to be happening. You know, we weren't sure what the expectation was for remote learning, quite how that was going to fit into what was required for assessments and things like that. And obviously questions about what we would do with the more practical aspects of learning. So I think all of that sort of lack of certainty, certainly for me at the beginning, made things a little bit strange. I think the remote learning side, I mean, I'm pretty lucky in terms of study space. I live on my own. I don't have any children, so and my work is generally outside of college time, so I'm not trying to sort of juggle stuff like that. But I think for me, the structure thing works quite well, trying to set myself little goals, little time slots. If I try and just plow too much into it in one go, I end up confusing myself. So trying to sort of be mindful of what my most effective mechanism for working was quite important. But I definitely keeping a bit of a structure, whether it was to the college timetables or to something that I set myself. But you know, little goals, achieve them, set the next one, do that. That's what worked best for me.
Yeah, I much the same as Richard as well. Throughout the first semester, I found it a little bit difficult. So I studied full time during college. So when it came to lockdown, you know, I actually kind of found it a little bit easier. But I adopted some better organizational skills, you know, during that time. So because I work actually nights and stuff, you know, I was making myself get up for you know, college obviously every morning, you know, 7:30, you know, 8 o'clock, and then even through lockdown that actually followed me. Like I was, you know, getting up for the calls, and I was, you know, making myself available, and I was, you know, surprised at actually how much I could learn and get through, you know, before midday or so. You know, that was just joining the classes sort of you know, first thing. That I think what Richard was saying, just those little goals, like, right, I'm getting up and I'm gonna read this and I'm gonna do this, and before you know it, you know you've come a long way without even realizing it, and everything just sort of gets easier. And that's how I found with the course, just in general. Yeah.
I mean, the whole set of technology that's available is really good. The fact that it gives you so many different options, but I think for certain things, some of them are more suited than others. Sometimes trying to get people organised through sort of group chats and things is not as effective as it could be. But I found the sort of group voice calls with a shared screen or shared presentation and things were pretty good. I mean, I was quite lucky. That was a way of working that I was quite used to anyway from my old work life. So that wasn't that unusual for me. So I found that was okay. The one thing that I guess just on a, you know, that I personally struggled with a little bit is sometimes trying to, if you're trying to do something as a group, trying to get engaged with other people. Sometimes I would procrastinate a bit about, should I send them a message? Shouldn't I? What should I? You know, sometimes I found that I could overthink it a little bit, and I don't always end up worrying about something that turned out to be a non-issue anyway.
I thought like we had quite a really close group. So we had a WhatsApp group between us all, and yeah, that was a great way of sort of communicating pretty much anything within the group. So when there were sort of group things outside, teams did work really well. Amy, when you set up the team for contemporary values and just other little groups. Yeah, I found that worked really well. But even if I didn't get a message back in, Teams, I'd be like, right, boys, what's going on? Send a little WhatsApp message or whatever.
There is the thing about technology, how comfortable people are with tech, and obviously the SWAP classes could have quite a range of ages and backgrounds and experiences, so it could be a little bit of an unknown. But I guess one of the things that this has sort of on a personal level sort of really shown me is I remember when we came onto campus and we were having our induction talks and things with you, and it was drummed into us about how much of a responsibility it was for ourselves to put the effort in, and working and learning remotely really hammers that home. You have to show the commitment and put the effort in to show up, engage, do what you need to do, and the onus really is on you. From my perspective, benefits are, unless you're actually in a physical conversation in a group voice or video call, being able to sometimes work at your own pace. So, for example, there were a couple of lessons where you provided us with pre-recorded audio, and when you've got something like that, or the previous recordings from Teams that you can then go and access and play back with your reading materials and stuff like that, if there is something that you need to pause over and it takes a little while to wrap your head around, you can do that without the worry of, oh no, I'm holding the rest of the class up, or we're not going to get through this. And also the personal side of it, you don't have to worry about how you look, whether people think, what people might think about it. So I think that is can be a benefit, and sometimes just that thing of actual physical distance sometimes helps. Sometimes people may speak differently than they might do in a room full of people. It's different for other, for lots of people, but I know some people who feel a little bit more comfortable having that sort of degree of separation.
Yeah, I agree with Richard there. Learning, you have that benefit of learning at your own pace. I find listening to listen, like learning by like watching videos or listening, wrap my head around things. I'd sometimes, when I was, for example, doing psychology, I would watch a couple of videos on like, Freud or Erickson and find out more about this person, and to really get this like, this understanding other than reading and feeling confused. And I could spend like maybe a day, just really learning about, different things, different ways, instead of like, you got 2 hours space in the class and you're trying to, you're a bit tired and you're trying to focus, or, there's distractions, or you're thinking about certain things. I found, like Richard said, learning at my own pace and sort of doing that, to be really beneficial.
It was obviously presented to us as the best way to do this was we came into we were on campus, we had a lecture, we went through the slides or whatever, then we would go away, do some reading, do our own research, but you had that sort of linear order. This just changes the order in which it might be done, and sometimes that going and finding a bit of information elsewhere, or watching a video or a TED talk, or listening, reading something else, can help cement or clarify something that you've heard in the lecture. So you're sort of, you know, going to be achieving the same thing, just in a slightly different order. That would just be more step by step, you know, branching out whenever the student felt it necessary or appropriate to go and do their own research. And sometimes that may actually work better if there's something that they're not necessarily understanding or don't quite get the head around, rather than waiting until the lecture's finished, then go and research it, and then come back and go, oh, that's what that meant, right? But I'm thinking that the flexibility that being remote gives, particularly if it's not all real time, and by that I mean, you know, sort of actual voice and or video calls, doing it from home lends itself to that type of working more than actually being on campus does. Being on campus is very, this is what you do while you're here, and you then go off and do something which might circle back to what you did in class or might not. For me, it was important not to try not to have any sort of preconceived ideas. When all this happened, it would be, you know, it was very tempting to think, oh no, this is going to make things really difficult, and it's, you know, but actually, like we've just discussed, although there are some challenges, it actually helps in some areas. So, you know, just sort of trying to be open-minded and positive about it. It's not a huge obstacle. It's not going to make the learning any worse. It's going to make it different.